Welcome to the Risk Wheelhouse, the podcast where we navigate the ever-changing seas of risk management and technology. Join your hosts, Ori Wellington and Sam Jones, as they steer you through the latest trends, insights, and strategies shaping the future of integrated risk management. Ready to chart a course towards success? Hop aboard and let's set sail into today's deep dive.
Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're tackling AI in healthcare, and specifically how to manage the risks that come with, all this crazy fast tech development. We've got this really cool article here from the Risk Tech Journal called Integrated Risk Management in Healthcare: Managing AI's Rapid Evolution with a Responsible Approach. The Risk Tech Journal, by the way, is published by Wheelhouse Advisors, and they really know their stuff when it comes to risk management. So, you hear AI in healthcare and you think, wow, the future's now. Faster drug discoveries, personalized treatments. It does sound amazing, but like with anything powerful, there's always, a flip side, right? Some risks involved. And that's where integrated risk management, or IRM, comes in. And I think that's a really fascinating point. Like, how do we actually make sure we use all this power responsibly?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's kind of like walking a tightrope in a way, right? I mean, the potential benefits are huge, but the potential pitfalls, yeah, they're there too. Right. So how do we harness it? How do we do it responsibly?
Exactly. So let's get into it. What are some of those specific risks with AI in healthcare that IRM is trying to, get a handle on?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones that comes to mind right away is data security. Healthcare data, it's incredibly sensitive. We're talking about people's medical histories, their genetic information, all sorts of super personal stuff.
Yeah.
If that data gets into the wrong hands, well, the consequences could be really, really bad.
Oh, yeah, that's a scary thought for sure. It really makes you realize how important data security is in this whole, AI and healthcare thing. So how does IRM actually help organizations deal with that risk, make sure that doesn't happen?
So IRM, it's really about taking this comprehensive approach to data security.
Right.
It's being proactive about it. It's not just about having, good firewalls and antivirus software, which are important, but it's more about creating this whole culture of security within the organization. So that means things like having really strict access controls, making sure everyone's trained on best practices for data security, and constantly checking systems for, vulnerabilities, making sure everything is up to date.
So it's like baking data security into the DNA of the organization, not just, an afterthought.
Exactly. It's got to be part of everything. And another big thing that IRM helps with is regulatory compliance. I mean, the rules around AI in healthcare, they're changing all the time. Governments all over the world are putting in new laws and guidelines to make sure that AI is being used safely and ethically.
It sounds like it's a lot for these healthcare organizations to keep up with all these changes.
Oh, it definitely is. And that's exactly where IRM can be a huge help. Having a solid IRM framework in place means that these organizations can kind of stay ahead of the curve, make sure they're always following the rules, avoid those big fines or legal issues.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, staying compliant not only protects the organization, but also builds trust with patients too, right? It shows them that you're taking their privacy seriously and their safety.
Absolutely. Trust is huge, especially when we're talking about healthcare. Patients need to feel confident that their data is in good hands and that AI is being used ethically, to actually make their care better.
Now, you brought up the ethical use of AI, and that's something I wanted to dig into a little bit more. How does IRM help make sure that AI is actually being used ethically in healthcare?
One of the big things is promoting transparency. One of the criticisms of AI is that it can be a bit of a black box. You don't always know how it's making decisions. This lack of transparency can really erode trust, and it can also make it hard to spot and fix any potential biases that might be in there.
Yeah, that's a real concern. I've heard people say that AI can actually make existing biases worse if we're not super careful.
Exactly. And that's why IRM puts so much emphasis on transparency and explainability with these AI systems. Organizations need to be able to show how their AI algorithms work, what data they're trained on, and how those decisions are being made. This transparency lets people scrutinize things. Helps to make sure that the AI is fair and unbiased and accountable.
So it's about lifting the curtain on AI, so to speak, making sure it's not operating in secret.
Exactly. It's about making AI's decision-making clear and easy to understand for everyone involved, from the patients to the doctors to the regulators, everybody.
It sounds like IRM is a big deal when it comes to shaping the ethical side of AI in healthcare. It's not just about avoiding risks. It's about building that foundation of trust and transparency and accountability.
Exactly. And as AI keeps evolving and becomes even more intertwined with healthcare, that role of IRM is only going to get bigger and bigger,
So we've talked about data security, regulatory compliance, ethical considerations. Are there any other big risks with AI in healthcare that IRM is designed to tackle?
One that we don't always talk about is the risk of relying too much on AI. It's easy to think of AI as, this magical solution to every problem in healthcare. But we got to remember that AI is a tool. It's a powerful tool for sure, but still just a tool at the end of the day.
So we don't want to fall into the trap of thinking AI can replace human judgment and expertise completely.
Exactly. AI can definitely help us out. It can enhance what humans can do, but it can't replace us entirely. And IRM helps organizations find that balance, making sure AI systems are being used the right way, working alongside human experts and not trying to take over completely.
That actually brings up another interesting point, the human factor in all of this. How does IRM address the need to train healthcare professionals as AI becomes more and more common?
That's a really important part of IRM. As AI gets more integrated into healthcare, it's absolutely crucial that the people using it, the healthcare professionals, they're prepared. They need the knowledge and skills to use it safely, responsibly, effectively.
It's almost like learning a whole new language, right? AI is changing how healthcare works, and everyone needs to be fluent.
Yeah, I like that analogy. That's a good one. So IRM helps organizations come up with good training programs to make sure that doctors, nurses, everyone understands how AI works, how to interpret what it's telling them, and how to actually use it in their everyday work in a safe and ethical way.
It sounds like IRM is really about creating a bridge between the tech world and the healthcare world, making sure they work together, for the benefit of the patients.
That's a great way to put it. It's about building that collaboration and understanding between the tech people and the healthcare professionals, making sure that AI is used to improve human care and compassion, not replace it.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, but it feels like we've just scratched the surface of what IRM is all about.
You're absolutely right. There's so much more to it than we've even touched on today.
Well, I'm definitely interested to learn more. In the next part of our deep dive, let's explore how IRM is actually being put into practice, in real-world healthcare settings, and what the future might hold for this whole field.
Sounds good to me. I'm looking forward to getting into that. You mentioned there's a lot more to...
Are you ready to see risk management in action? At Wheelhouse Advisors, we've launched a new YouTube channel dedicated to integrated risk management. You'll find quick explainers, insights from our IRM Navigator research reports, highlights from the Risk Journal, and conversations from the Risk Wheelhouse podcast. We're covering the topics that matter most to executives and risk leaders, from AI governance and cyber insurance to operational resilience and regulatory change. Every video is designed to help you anticipate risks, adapt with confidence, and build resilience in a digital-first world. In our first video, we explain how ISO 42001, the EU AI Act, and the NIST AI Risk Management Framework can work together as a unified playbook for AI risk. Subscribe today at youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv and get the latest insights delivered directly to you. That's youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv. Subscribe now and stay ahead of the risks that matter most.
IRM that we've talked about so far.
Yeah, we've only just scratched the surface, right?
Right. So what are some other areas, besides what we've already touched on, where IRM can have a big impact on how we use AI in healthcare?
That's a great question.
Well, one that comes to mind is clinical decision support. As these AI systems get more and more sophisticated, they're being used more and more to help doctors with diagnoses and making treatment decisions. But it's super important to make sure that these systems are reliable and that their recommendations actually line up with, the established medical guidelines, best practices, all that.
So it's not just about having an AI that can say, oh, I think this is what's wrong. It's got to be trustworthy, right?
Exactly. It's got to be solid. And that's where IRM comes in, by setting up really clear ways to check these AI algorithms to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to and to monitor how they're performing and to make sure they fit in with how clinicians already work. That's how IRM helps make sure that AI is used as a tool to help human doctors not replace them.
Yeah, that's like a partnership, right?
Exactly. It is a partnership. And it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the people using it. IRM recognizes that, the human element is so important when it comes to implementing AI. So that means making sure clinicians are trained properly.
Hmm.
Yeah, so they understand what AI can and can't do, and they can use it responsibly and ethically. It also means encouraging collaboration between the clinicians and the data scientists. So the AI systems are actually developed and used in a way that makes sense for both sides, both for the healthcare professionals and for patients.
It seems like IRM is as much about people and processes as it is about the actual technology.
Absolutely. And that leads us to another key aspect of IRM, continuous improvement. IRM isn't just a one-time fix. It's an ongoing process of watching, evaluating, and refining these AI systems to make sure they're working the way they should and keeping up with the ever-changing world of healthcare.
So it's about being flexible and adaptable from the get-go because, AI is always evolving.
Exactly. And that's what makes IRM so valuable.
Yeah.
It gives you this framework, this way of navigating all the uncertainty and complexity that comes with AI in healthcare. It lets organizations adapt to new challenges and opportunities as they come up.
So this has really helped me understand the bigger picture of what IRM is all about. Now, in the article, it mentions Novartis as a company that's doing a good job of implementing IRM. Can you tell us a bit more about what they're doing and why it's such a good example?
Sure. So Novartis has developed something they call an integrated assurance model for their AI projects. Basically, it's this holistic approach where they build risk management and ethical considerations into every single step of the AI lifecycle, from the very beginning when they're developing it to when they're actually using it, and then even after that as they're monitoring it.
That sounds really thorough. Can you give us some specific examples of how that works in practice?
Yeah. So, for example, they're really careful about using diverse data sets to train their AI algorithms. They know that if an AI is only trained on data from one specific group of people, it might not work as well for other groups. And that can lead to biases and inaccuracies in the AI's predictions.
That makes sense. It's like if you only ever studied one kind of flower, you wouldn't be very good at recognizing other kinds.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great analogy. So by using these diverse data sets, Novartis is making sure their AI systems are more robust.
Yeah.
And less likely to show those biases. Another thing they focus on is transparency and explainability. They're developing tools and techniques to make sure that clinicians can understand how their AI is making decisions, so they can have more confidence in the recommendations that the AI is making.
So they're really making an effort to make sure their AI is used ethically.
They are. And it's not just about being altruistic, It's also just good business sense. By investing in IRM, Novartis is reducing risks, building trust with everyone involved, and establishing themselves as a leader in this whole area of responsible AI innovation.
Sounds like a win-win.
Exactly. They're getting all the benefits of AI while minimizing the potential downsides. I think their approach is a really good model for other organizations that are trying to implement IRM.
It's inspiring to see companies taking the lead on this. But I'm curious, what about the bigger picture? What role do you see governments and regulatory bodies playing in shaping the future of IRM in healthcare?
Well, that's a big one. Governments and regulatory bodies have a really important role in setting clear guidelines and standards for AI in healthcare. We're already seeing this happening with things like the EU's AI Act that they're working on and the FDA's guidance on AI in medical devices.
So those regulations are kind of like setting the ground rules for how AI can be used safely and ethically.
Exactly. And IRM gives organizations the framework they need to meet those requirements, and to prove that they're serious about using AI responsibly.
It's like a roadmap for navigating all the complicated rules and ethical considerations around AI and healthcare.
Exactly. And I think we're only going to see more regulation in this area as AI becomes more and more integrated into healthcare.
So IRM is probably going to become even more important as we move forward.
Absolutely. I think IRM is going to be essential for any healthcare organization that wants to use AI. It's how they can make sure they're keeping patients safe, being ethical, and following all the regulations.
We've talked a lot about what IRM is and why it's important, but for our listeners who are thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but how do I actually do it? We'll get into the practical steps of implementing IRM after a quick break. So we've talked about why IRM is so important, and we've even seen how a company like Novartis is putting it into practice. But let's get down to brass tacks here. For those healthcare organizations that are listening and thinking, okay, I'm on board, but where do I even begin? What are some actual steps they can take to start implementing IRM for their AI projects?
Yeah, that's a great question. It can definitely feel overwhelming at first. But if you break it down into smaller pieces, it becomes a lot more manageable. So the first thing, and this is really important, is to establish a clear governance structure for AI. What I mean by that is you need to define who's responsible for what, who's accountable if things go wrong, and what policies and procedures are going to guide how AI is developed, used, and managed.
So it's like laying down the ground rules before you even start playing the game?
Exactly. It's about setting the stage for responsible AI use right from the beginning. The next step is to do some serious risk assessments. That means figuring out what could potentially go wrong with your AI projects, how likely those risks are to happen, and how bad the consequences would be if they did. And then, of course, coming up with plans to mitigate those risks.
So being proactive rather than reactive.
Exactly. It's a lot easier and cheaper to prevent problems than it is to fix them after they happen. And it's important to remember that risk assessment isn't a one-time thing. You need to keep doing it regularly as your AI systems evolve and as new risks pop up.
It's like a constant process of checking and adjusting.
Yep, that's a core part of IRM. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. It's a dynamic process that has to adapt along with AI itself.
This all makes a lot of sense, but how do organizations make sure that IRM isn't just, a box-ticking exercise? How do they actually create a culture where IRM is built into everything they do with AI?
That's a really important point. IRM can't just be something that's forced on people from the top down. It has to be part of the organization's DNA, And one of the best ways to do that is through training and education. Organizations need to invest in programs that give their employees the knowledge and skills they need to understand and implement IRM principles.
So it's about giving everyone the tools they need to be champions for responsible AI.
Exactly. And it's not just about the technical stuff. It's also about fostering this culture of ethical awareness and responsibility when it comes to AI.
So making sure everyone understands the potential impact of AI and that they have a role to play in making sure it's used ethically.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And communication is a big part of that too. Organizations need to be open about their AI projects. They need to talk to stakeholders about the potential benefits and risks. And they need to be open to feedback to make sure that their AI systems are aligned with what society expects and values.
So it's about having a two-way conversation where everyone feels like they're being heard and that their input matters.
Exactly. IRM isn't just about reducing risks. It's about building trust and creating a sense of shared responsibility when it comes to AI.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation. It's clear that IRM isn't just a quick fix. It's a fundamental change in how we think about AI in healthcare. It's about taking this holistic, proactive, and ethical approach to make sure that AI is used to improve patient care and make people's lives better.
I couldn't agree more. IRM is a journey, not a destination. And it's a journey we need to take together with a shared commitment to using the power of AI for the good of everyone.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into AI in healthcare. We hope this has given you a lot to think about and that you'll continue to explore this important topic. If you want to learn more about IRM and how to implement it in your own organization, be sure to check out the full article from the Risk Tech Journal. It's called Integrated Risk Management in Healthcare, Managing AI's Rapid Evolution with a Responsible Approach. You can find it on the Wheelhouse Advisors website. That's all for today. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep asking those tough questions.
That wraps up another episode of the Risk Wheelhouse. Thank you for spending time with us at Wheelhouse Advisors today. We hope you found the conversation insightful and actionable for your organization's risk strategies. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. If you're looking for more in-depth analysis and thought leadership on risk technology, be sure to visit the Risk Tech Journal at theriskTechJournal.com. It's your go-to source for comprehensive articles, expert interviews, and the latest trends shaping the industry. Subscribe today to stay informed. For any inquiries or feedback, please contact us directly at info@wheelhouseadvisors.com or feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn and x.com and share your thoughts or suggestions for future topics. Visit wheelhouseadvisors.com for more information and resources. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, navigate wisely.